All right.
We're good?
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
It's close quarters in here.
Talking about mac and cheese later.
Mac and cheese.
Yeah, that's one of the main entrees for the wedding was.
Does this need to be tilted up?
Oh no, you just moved it.
Too much?
Down a little bit. Here. Perfect. God, you're just wonderful. Such a big helper.
I do my best.
You know.
It's not always helpful, but
Oh, you're always helpful.
I'll try. Oops, I brought my glasses and headphones. I did.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, cool.
Right there. It feels really good outside.
I know, right?
Woo!
40 degrees in Florida.
40? It's warmer here?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Karen Gower. Hi, Bill.
Karen Gower. Oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go.
Feels really good outside.
I know, right?
Woo!
40 degrees in Florida.
40? It's warmer here? What?
Host of the Sunday Real Estate Show, found right here on 103.5 FM, The Sun, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Hey, when I'm not on the radio, I'm working with folks just like you to help them buy and sell homes. I'm proud to say that my team, the Baker Realty Group, has been helping people buy and sell homes in the greater Sun Prairie area for over 10 years. Information about buying and selling a home is available on my website, thebakerrealtygroup.com, on Facebook by searching The Baker Realty Group, or by calling 608-575-6731. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show with Bill Baker and Laura Stanfield. Brought to you by The Baker Realty Group.
Welcome to the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show with your host, Bill Baker.
Hey, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Bill Baker, and glad to be with you. I actually feel like I should be wearing sunglasses in the studio because it's so bright coming through the window this afternoon. Oh, it's still morning. It's still morning. Mm-hmm. And but it's awesome. It's a beautiful day. Don't get used to it because we know what happens. The boys basketball tournament's coming up, and that means we're going to have a little snow. We will have some snow out there, I tell you. We will.
No.
Oh, we will. We will
have some snow melting.
Melt. Well, it's warmer here than it was in Florida this past weekend down in Jacksonville Beach, where my son Alex got married, and congrats to Mr. and Mrs. Baker.
Congratulations.
That sounds so funny. We'll talk about that on a Monday show.
Why a Monday show?
Because it'll take us forever, and we just don't have time.
You've got stories to tell.
I got stories to tell. I always have stories to tell.
Yeah.
Hey, Laura and I created this show just for you. It's all about buying and selling and investing in real estate, and we're here to give you the tools that you need to help make an educated decision on buying, selling, or investing, and is it right for you? So we hope we come across in a good manner. This is not a sales show. This is all about you and helping educate you to the process. And right now in this marketplace, you need the help. And you need some excitement in your life by having a professional work with you. If not, I don't think you're going to do very well out there. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. You're listening to 103.5 WLSP, the Sun Prairie, right here at the beautiful Sun Prairie Media Center Studios, right on Lynn Rood Drive next to the library. We're underwritten by those wonderful folks at the Bank of Sun Prairie, the Baker Realty Group, and, of course, Wintrust Mortgage. And excited to have that. Now, sitting next to me, actually sitting across from me today, next to the glass,
next to the chair that knocks everything over.
Yes, you did knock things over this
I
morning.
didn't, the chair did.
Klutz.
I am clumsy, though.
I tell you. Is the world's greatest mortgage banker Ms. Laura Stanfield.
Morning!
Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Got some things, got some subjects that we're going to talk about this morning. And one of them is, this our real estate market right now, what we're going through. Is it a horror movie? Coming this spring, fear, doubt, and a perfect storm of uncertainty.
So much drama.
Brought to you by widgets.
Yeah, you said something about adding excitement or something, and I was like, man, I think there's enough of that right now.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Is it something else?
It is.
You know, so what's going on in the world of mortgages? Let's talk about that.
Rates are stressing me out.
Are they? What do you mean by that?
And that doesn't usually happen. I've been doing this 25 years, right? So I know rates go up, go down. Yeah, but coming off of a day like yesterday, it just kind of shoved my phone to the side. Because I've mentioned before that I get notifications on my phone
Yeah,
if
I know.
rates are going up, down, whatever.
Yeah.
We had more pricing adjustments yesterday than I've seen in a while. And it's been a bad few days really for interest rates, honestly, but yesterday was crazy. So I just was like, nope, not looking at it anymore. Not a good rate lock day. So, I mean, we all know that we're dealing with inflation concerns and oil prices, gas prices, Ukraine. One good thing is that job numbers continue to grow, which is a good thing for people and the economy, but doesn't usually go well for interest rates, mortgage rates, anyway.
Well, let's talk about that, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was the impact of rising mortgage rates. And people are still pointing out that it's the Fed and all this, and so I wanted really to talk about and remind people about interest rates. And I love this comment because I see these on Facebook. People talk out their behind sometimes. They have no idea what they're talking about. But they're talking about how the Ukraine situation is actually driving rates up. And it's not. It's actually having an opposite effect. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Talk about what drives interest rates. What controls that? Who sets those?
Okay, well, there's the federal funds rate, and that's what people are hearing and reacting to right now.
Yeah.
That this isn't news. We knew last year, like midway through the year last year, or maybe in the third quarter of last year, the Fed came out and said we're going to stop. The federal funds rate has been really low for a really long time.
Yeah.
It had to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so they came out and said, no, we're going to have to start increasing the federal funds rate. That's the rate that banks borrow money at. So it isn't necessarily a direct impact on first mortgage rates.
Correct. That's the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
That's Paulson.
But so people make an assumption when they hear the Fed is going to raise rates by a quarter, half, I think it's a quarter, right?
Right.
That means it's a direct quarter increase in mortgage rates. It doesn't work like that.
No.
So that was announced last year, and cutting back on buying, putting money into mortgage-backed bonds. That's what drives first mortgage rates.
Sure. So what was happening? The federal government was buying mortgage-backed bonds. They were feeding the bond market, and by doing that, what happened is interest rates went down low.
Way down.
Because nobody
lower
wants
than anybody expected.
Yeah, no, they don't want to buy those bonds. I mean, bonds are a secure investment. So you lock that in, you own that bond. Now, what's happened because of the Ukraine situation is the opposite. So when you have a world situation like a war or something using the Ukraine, investors go away from more risky investments and they turn to things
Safer.
like bonds.
And bonds are usually safer.
So that's why you saw rates drop a little bit, because bonds were being bought.
Yep.
Now, what else is messing with the market is the oil futures and all that. That's playing with the mortgage rates a little bit, but it's because of where people are putting money and taking money out.
That's it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so, and then the inflation thing is just driving us crazy. So if inflation keeps going up, we are not going to see that interest rate go up significantly. Now, taking this into, if your parents were in the room, and my sister's watching, hey Les, good to see you. So if you were back in like 1980, 1979 and all that, interest rates went from about 3.5% to 18% in some areas. So it can happen. Interest rates can climb. That's not going to happen like that again because safeguards have been put in place. And the other thing that's going on here is that we're adjusting. The government is adjusting pretty quick, but they're slow in their actions at times. So that's why you see that fluctuation. Boop, 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 boop.
Well, they have to be careful, right, about what they're doing because
Correct. You could overcorrect.
You can overcorrect.
And then
yes.
that causes a recession.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons of actually increasing interest rates also was because they were seeing recessionary signs, and so they wanted to stop that. But, you know, we're complaining about 4%, 4.2.
Well, even if it gets a little bit higher, even if it gets to 5, that's the thing that people need to think about. And we don't necessarily want to focus on what rates were. How long ago was that now? 30 years ago?
Oh.
Doesn't that seem crazy?
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, my Lord.
I know.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, I've mentioned before on the show that my mother left nursing and went into real estate at that time.
Okay.
So what a crazy, nutty time to get into selling real estate.
I know, right?
It was hard for people to afford mortgages.
It was.
Because rates were so high. But guess what? She was still selling houses.
What year?
This would have been in the late 70s that she got into real estate.
Yeah.
I think 78, 79, something like that.
I want to say my folks moved to Pennsylvania in 79. My dad started a new job. I went to college. I went down to Richmond. And I want to say their interest rate was either 16 or 17%. Mm-hmm. I remember that. And, wow, first going from the Midwest to the East Coast, cost of living, oh my gosh. And then you have a high interest rate the way they did. But, I hope we never see that day
We've come
again.
out of periods like that before, though, is my point, and people still found a way. People were buying on land contract
Oh, yeah.
back then to arrange lower rates of interest and lower monthly payments. So there's a way. Don't panic. It's just put it in a frame, a historical frame, I guess. It's not that bad.
Well, so let's talk about, I pulled up an example. I should have sent it to you, and I apologize. So if you took a $370,000 home that was purchased in June of 2021 with a 2.96% mortgage rate, and it compared that to February of 2022 at a 4.6, the difference is $182 a month, which is significant.
Yeah, it is.
But at the same time, for a 30-year mortgage, I mean, you're like, okay, is that going to stop somebody from buying a house? The answer is maybe. Maybe, and that's where I'm going next. Is like, are we going towards a bust in this current bubble? Are we having a bubble? We talk about this all the time. Mm-hmm. My buddy Bill Connors and Mark Bremer were talking about this the other day, talking about how with all the inflation in Ukraine and everything, they said that the market's about to correct. And I'm like, no, it's not going to correct right now. And what are the two things that are stopping that correction? One is inventory.
They're saying the housing market is going to correct.
They're saying the housing market's going to correct. No, I said we're 2 years away.
Inventory is the biggest driver.
Inventory.
This is simple Econ 101.
Right, and demand is still constant. It's still high. People still want to buy.
Yeah.
So prices are up.
Yeah.
Now you stop buying, and those prices will drop. And inventory will go up, and it'll reverse on it. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that happening right now.
No, I don't either. Not for a long time, honestly.
Well, if you think, we were at 6.2, 6.4 million in sales nationwide last year. Okay, on average, you want to use 5 million as a guide on purchases, the number of sales per year in the United States. We were way over that. But if you still kept that $5 million number or 5 million unit number, we're still short on inventory. Because when we look at February, what I pulled up was normally we should be about 1 million, 1.5 million homes for sale. We're at 750,000 homes. Mm-hmm. Now, how does that relate to Sun Prairie? Well, it's about 11.
Yeah, we live in a bubble. We do.
Right.
We're only focused on what we know around us, which is human nature. That makes sense. But this is truly a nationwide issue. Lack of inventory
Sure.
and high buyer demand is a nationwide issue. I think it's going on in most states.
It is. It is. So how are you as a mortgage banker, how are you working with your clients? Are you locking them in earlier?
Depends
What's
on
that
the
conversation?
day.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Like yesterday would have been a horrible day to lock in a rate, but like if you have to, you have to.
Uh-huh.
What can you do, right? So I'm just telling people, here's the rate in your situation. I always look for ways to reduce the rate. So could you have a decent amount of assets. If you put 25% down versus 20%, you don't have to. Let's
Right.
do that first.
Sure.
You don't have to.
Right.
But if you have the money, you could probably get a better interest rate because the risk lowers. For increased down payment, the risk goes down. Same thing with credit scores. I always look at that. If your credit score is not a 740 or higher, I'm looking for ways you can increase your credit score so you can get a lower rate, whatever is going on in the market. So I look for ways to do that. And then I also offer like a buy down, paying points to get a lower rate.
Wow, you are going to points now. Because
Oh, yeah.
normally you don't normally talk about points because you're saying that they're not needed.
Well, no, it depends. I always say it depends on the situation. I don't ever quote a rate like with points. This is what lenders do,
Right.
unfortunately. So a lot of times people will say, well, I'm going to get 3.75. I mean, I know what's unreasonable
Uh-huh.
and what's not in this market. So if somebody says 3.75 right now, I'm like, 30-year fixed? Are we sure? 30-year fixed. Okay. Then show me what they're doing with that rate, because you're being charged points. I would bet money on it, and I don't bet. I'm not a gambler. So when I quote a rate,
Yes, you are.
I'm gonna say, here's your rate, and you don't have to pay points to get that rate, but you have the option to buy it down.
Sure.
Here's what it would cost you to buy it down, and here's what your rate would be.
So give people an idea of what the cost would be to buy down points.
It's hard to do that, honestly. I'm not being gray on purpose. It's the same thing about interest rates, where it's tied into the market, your credit score,
Uh-huh.
your property type, your down payment. It's very situation specific, but
Right.
how much it takes to get, let's say, from 4 to 3.875 depends on the day, depends on the market. So there isn't like a hard and fast, I can pay $500 and get to 3.875. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't work like that.
Sure.
It's about the pricing for the day.
Right.
Lenders have what we call par rates. A par rate is a rate at which you don't have to pay money to get it. It's the going rate for the day. So I try to always quote a par rate. That way people kind of know what a worst case scenario would be, but then give options. You can buy it down if you want. But then it's not that simple, right? So I always run numbers and say, this is the difference in your monthly payment for an 1/8 or a 1/4%. This is how long it would take you to recoup that cost.
Right.
How long are you going to be in your home?
Sure. Yeah.
You don't want to spend money you'll never get back.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to provide education and really listen to people.
Well, and
you know?
and you have to be a guide.
Yeah.
You have to take somebody by the hand and say, do you understand this?
Mhm.
Let me show you specifically what I'm talking about in here.
And how it could impact you.
Right, and folks, that's what you get with local. You don't get that from Rocket and all those guys that you see online. And you get somebody that knows the market, knows the area, and is willing to work with you and advise you. And why is that? Because that local advisor wants to be your advisor for the rest of your life. They're not sitting in a cubicle of 300 cubicles in this huge warehouse, factory kind of thing,
Or
taking
maybe
phone calls.
working from home.
Well,
Who knows? I mean, it could be.
well, I
but
know, but I'm saying
Do they
it.
care? Do they care about the community? Do they care about relationships?
Exactly.
Do they care
Right.
about?
Uh-huh.
Can I tell a quick story about
Mhm.
that one?
You can do anything.
That online lender
You
that you
can
were
do
just
it.
talking
You mean
about?
Rocket?
That one, yeah. So,
Didn't exploded it off, lift off, sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
It just really, it's the local conversation. So it was a couple that went through Rocket first, and Rocket said, yes, you can buy a home for $450,000. I think I told you this story, but I haven't told her.
Take your time, take your time.
And then local lender says, you're pre-approved for $250,000. Well, obviously for the client, they're like, oh, well, we wanted to buy at $400,000 or $500,000. So I like their answer better. Okay, but let's be realistic. If you can't, you can't, right? Why do you want to get out and start looking at houses and then you're not ready and you cannot follow through?
Right.
So then they came to me for a third opinion. 450 is nowhere near. That's not possible. Not possible. I don't know where Rocket came up with 450.
Yeah.
The local lender was right.
Well, and you know what happens? And this is a shame, is they'll get in the process. They've got a pre-approval
That's
letter,
what I mean.
and they get them in there. And folks, because when you buy a house, and if you haven't gone through this, let's just share this with you. It's going to take about 30 days. You're going to get an accepted offer. You have a pre-approval letter from your lender, and now the timeline starts. And then appraisal is going to happen in about 24 days, maybe, give or take.
It should, right now it should, yeah.
Okay, and in that process, you're going through a home inspection, possibly $500. You're going through. You've got your
appraisal.
Your appraisal fee, what, $500? And then there's $1,000 right there. You're getting packed and ready to go. You've got everything. You're giving stuff away. I mean, the stress starts to build. 24 days into this, the lender goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't approve your loan." Why? Because now they've double-checked your income, they've checked your employment, they're checking all the different things, and now that organization realizes that you don't meet the requirements for a $450,000 loan.
Right.
And now you're about 2 weeks away from closing. Am I describing this okay?
Oh, where are the sellers going to go? Now they have to start all over, perhaps.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Because it's a chain reaction.
Yes.
So you're selling, and somebody's buying your house. You're buying, and somebody's selling their house. Bam, bam, bam. I had a transaction once that gave me agita, that drove me crazy. I had 6 transactions together that were linked together. And if one, and this was back in like 2008, 2009, if one of them fell apart, they all fell apart.
Domino effect.
I know, and
Right.
so, and that's what happens. And Chris Thomas, who just joined us on Facebook, he can describe this. He knows what I'm talking about. And so that's why, I mean, you gotta double check. You gotta work with somebody you can look at.
Local.
Please, folks, listen to me.
If the lender is not asking you to submit your pay statements, W-2s, bank statements, everything that your loan decision is going to be based on, an underwriter is going to need that stuff anyway. So a lender should be asking for it up front if they're doing their job well.
Yeah.
We can't just go by what you fill out on your online application, let's say.
Wish you
because
could.
you don't know, you don't necessarily know what a lender can and can't use. And it's interesting to me, I come across people sometimes and they're not real clear on what their income is anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how that is, but they're not.
That's something. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so we don't want to base it on what ifs. We want to base it on, yep, I have verified
Sure.
your income, your assets, all of it, you are good to go.
Yeah, but let's talk about this market. And if you're a buyer right now and you have not already started the process before you found a house, you lose. You're going to lose. And what I mean by that is having all your documents into Laura, having every bit of information that she needs, and she says, "We're ready to go. I just need an appraisal." And that appraisal.
Title work and appraisal.
Well, all right.
Title work's not usually an issue.
No. But it's going to be the appraisal. That would be the only thing left.
Yeah.
That's where you need to be in this market if you're going to finance a home. That's how you beat a cash offer.
I was going to say, you need to get as close to cash
Right.
as you can, and that's the best you can do.
Oh, I'll tell you right now. I know of transactions out there where they've set a cash deal.
Is all we'll take?
No. The buyer said it's a cash deal, but it's actually financed. And we get to the very end, and they would say, "Okay, hey, we'd like to convert this to financing. Nothing's changing. We're still closing on the same date."
Well, and there's no problem with that, right? As
Right.
long as you're upfront about it and say, "Hey, my buyer can pay cash. No, nothing. Your seller is good. Your seller is solid. Nothing to worry about. But my buyer wants to get a loan, and if we need an appraisal, you need to communicate that as an agent, right? Because then the listing agent's going to go, why am I getting a call from an appraiser?
Yeah, what am I doing?
Doing cash.
What's going on?
They just need to know that.
Sure.
And the appraiser needs probably, 15, 20 minutes?
Sure. So let's role play just a little bit here. So if I'm the listing agent and I had another agent contact me. Hopefully they called me, because I'd be flipped off if they emailed or texted anything like this change in like the last week of the transaction. But when it comes through here and it says, hey, we've decided that we're going to finance the transaction, nothing else is going to change, are you okay with that? My response is going to be, it depends on how you change that appraisal. We will not be responsible, the appraisal contingency will not be involved with this. And yes, we'll convert to that if you'll agree that there is no contingency related to appraisal. Because that would be the one caveat that where people could come in, oh, well, the home didn't appraise. Oh, we're out, see ya.
Yeah.
No.
If it's cash and it's truly free of all contingencies,
Right.
then why not? Financial advisors, I know, are telling people if you can get a loan, because money is still cheap, and the potential for you to keep your money in an investment and watch it grow once the market corrects a bit, we don't know when that will be. But I know advisors are saying if you can get a loan, get a loan.
Yeah.
It's okay, do it, but communicate it.
Yeah.
You don't want to tick off the listing agent, they just need to know that it's going to close with cash if your loan doesn't come through,
Right.
or if the appraisal comes in low.
Right.
Not their problem.
And if you didn't have an agent, if you're trying to sell the house yourself, you'd probably go, okay, all right, fine. Yeah, we can do that, no big deal. As long as we're closing at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, if that appraisal came in $50,000 or $100,000 less, those buyers would pull out.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that? So what if a buyer comes in with cash and they get an appraisal and an inspection and all this stuff? There's no
Is
contingencies
it part of
in
the
the
offer to
contract.
purchase? Okay.
No contingencies. But something comes up that disturbs them. They want out. Now what?
Well,
what can the seller do?
It's a legal question, first of all. So
So let's say you're not playing an attorney.
Okay,
You're
I'm not an
pretending
attorney.
to be
I'm not
an
playing an attorney.
Okay.
So you have a legally binding contract that says that you are going to do this to get that. And
Yeah.
so the parties have agreed that they are going to exchange things. One's going to give money, the other one's going to get a house instead. They have to perform to the contract. The contract says they're going to close on a specific date. Do they have to buy the house? An attorney will tell you no. Do you have to sell your house? An attorney will tell you no. Again, I'm not practicing law. I'm sharing my opinion. But there are consequences for that. They're vast. I mean, from paying of commissions, it's the making up the difference of the sale if they have to resell it again. I've heard big dollars on deals like this, $70,000 to $100,000 in damages at times, just depending on how the circumstances
So the
are.
seller could sue the buyer. Could.
They would. And
Just
so,
breach
and then
the
the
contract,
and then
right?
the listing broker would sue the people also,
Yeah.
even though that it would tie up all parties. And
So
that's a
this'll-
Peter Zaroff question.
I was thinking, I should get an attorney back on here, and I was thinking, Peter,
It's not happening though recently. It hasn't been happening that I'm aware of.
well, hopefully it doesn't. I can see it happening because cash is so encouraged right now to get an accepted offer.
Right.
I can see that happening.
Right.
And then a buyer maybe having remorse. Maybe
Sure.
they got into a bidding war and they're
Yeah.
50 grand over.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then they get an appraisal back and they're like, whoa, I thought it might still, appraise at what it's way
Sure.
under. So
Yeah.
I can see it happening without a doubt. This is just where education is so important, and realtors, I hope you guys are all explaining these contingencies and what it means, and if you go in without it,
Sure.
it's going to help you get an accepted offer, but you need to know what could happen to you if you don't,
Sure.
if something goes wrong. So I don't know, I wonder how many agents, though, it's tough out there, right?
It is.
And you need accepted offers.
You need accepted offers. So they're doing a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So let's switch. So what she's talking about is the buyer side on this. And the buyer side is, and there's a concern across the industry and everywhere, that we're giving up contingencies. We're giving up appraisal contingencies, home inspections, things like that. And I'm going to say to you that I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned, especially if I go into an older home or if I have an inexperienced real estate agent where you don't know what you're looking at, or what you see, what are the things that are happening with the house. Are there GFIs? Are there 2-prong plugs, not 3-prong plugs? Are there stains on the concrete up off the floor, maybe 5-6 inches? Does it smell damp? What's going on in that house? So, the offers I've written, and they have been accepted, is that we are going to do a home inspection, and that the buyer will cover maybe the first $5,000, and I just use that number, of repairs that would be needed. And a lot of times we'll be covered on that. And then over $5,000, that the seller and buyer will negotiate on there. Now, those are against competitive offers also. But that type of offer, depending on the experience level of an agent that's out there, may just tell somebody, "Oh, don't go with that. It's too complicated. Just take that cash offer over there." And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
You know?
It is happening.
Right.
I don't blame them. I really don't. They want things to be easy.
Right.
I'm sure they care. Maybe some don't at all.
No,
They're
they don't
leaving
care.
the house.
They don't care.
So you're buying what
They
you're
don't care.
buying. That's your problem, not mine anymore.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it all falls out and all that, because the biggest area of litigation is disclosures, lack of disclosure, that the seller had knowledge and did not disclose.
Yeah.
So-
That's a hard thing to prove, though.
If you're Uncle Johnny next door, Tommy next door, the neighbor goes, "Hey, was there any water in there?" Or the first rainfall, water's in the basement, and they talk. "Oh, it's been doing that for years."
Is Uncle Johnny or neighbor Johnny gonna testify though? Or are they gonna put themselves on the line and
Who
say,
knows?
"I heard them say there was water in there"?
I'm not
They
an attorney. I just
lied.
play one on TV.
I remember coming across this situation and talking with Peter about it. Peter Zaroff.
Zaroff.
Yep. And his
Attorney at law.
Yes. His first question to me, of course, was, "Are they a Keller Williams agent? Is there a conflict of interest?" No. And then I let him know that it was things that were not disclosed on the real estate condition report,
Right.
that the buyer felt the seller should have known and did not disclose. And the first thing he said, other than conflict of interest, right, is that's a really hard thing to prove.
Yeah.
We can see if we can, but that's tough. Trying to prove the seller knew, you have to get in their brain. Good luck. How do you do that?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
maybe there are circumstances that have come around, or people that have knowledge and are willing to share that. But
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I keep thinking professionalism has always been a thing in our world, always. But I feel like more so now, because people are on edge, they're stressed.
Yep.
It's different strategies for getting offers accepted. It's helping sellers figure out where they're going to go, because we know their house is going to sell fast. Where are they going to go? You really need to work with people who have been there, done that. Doesn't mean they've been in every situation, but they can advise you based on experience.
So that creates the FUD factor.
FUD factor?
FUD.
Yeah.
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yeah.
And that's part of the market that we're going into right now. People have a fear that they're paying too much, an uncertainty about buying a house, and that doubt that they'll ever have a house. And especially what's going on right now, what I think is that we're kind of saying goodbye to starter homes. Think about our pricing and where we are. Our first-time home buyers are really being hit by this. And so, starter home. Here's what I wrote down. I said a starter home. I believe a starter home is generally about 1,500 square feet, 2 or 3 bedrooms. It is affordable enough for a buyer who does not have equity from selling their previous home. Preferably, it's in move-in condition and ready to go. Doesn't need any work. Ben and Natalie were first-time home buyers. They bought that 3-bedroom home, needed no work, and they bought it at the right time.
Yeah.
I think that's a good example of it. The thing is, though, the pricing is going up to the point where some folks in that first-time home buyer are not going to qualify because the affordability index.
I know.
And where do we go? I mean, that's where we're headed, I think, is that. And if you look at the current listings that we have, which I provided you this morning, Madam.
Is that this short list I'm looking at
Yeah.
right here?
So in Sun Prairie right now, there are 17. If you were to look it up on the multiple listing service in the city of Sun Prairie, it would show 17 active listings. Actually, there are only 12 because the other 5 are new construction and they're ghost listings, which means they'll say coming soon in 5 months, or you can have this in May, but it's not built yet. It's not completed. So there are only 12 properties for sale. Now, of that entire list, there might be 5 homes that would be a first-time home buyer house. Because wouldn't you say that a first-time home buyer would be like maybe 375, 380 at this point? I mean, just a guesstimate.
Yeah, it just seems crazy to say that.
I know.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, but a month ago it was higher.
By how much?
Because our interest rates are up about 0.5%.
Yeah.
But so you're in there, but those houses aren't on here. They're not on here.
I'm looking up some of these. Vine Street goes right off of downtown, right?
Right.
And out.
$699,000.
Where is what?
I know.
Wow.
And by the way, there are no condos for sale in Sun Prairie.
Oh, none?
None. Zero. There's nothing on the market. Now, I will be adding one to the market, hopefully before the end of March.
Oh, good.
Yes. It'll be a 55.
Bring 'em.
Bring them.
Yeah. We need them. Bring them.
Yes, I have a lovely listing in Monona on Woodstock Lane. And
That'll go fast.
then I have one on Jennifer Lane in Fall River.
Oh.
Then we're going to have another one on the east side. Can't tell you about that one yet.
That's quite a few listings coming. I like it.
Man, when you work hard, it happens.
There you go.
It happens.
Yes.
But so what's going on, Laura, I think, is that this is affecting that first-time home buyer, and they have insurmountable barriers that are there in their way. And here's the thing: is they're also getting rejected and outbid, and they're frustrated as hell.
And then a lot of them are saying, I can't. I'm exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to put it on hold and I'm going to wait for the market to cool down.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
People who did that last year and the year before are sincerely regretting it.
Oh, yeah.
Rates are so much higher
Yeah.
now and prices are higher.
Yeah.
Don't take yourself out of the market.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay in it, even if you have to renew a lease.
Sure.
Have that conversation with your landlord.
Sure.
I'm looking to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
If I find something in the next few months, what can I do? What
Can I
are my
sublet
options?
it?
Yeah.
Would you let me out of my lease? They'll believe me. The landlords right now are going to do that because they can increase the rents and then go 10 to 20% and still rent it.
Right.
And that's where I think with our interest rates that are going up and our prices that are going up, until we get to equilibrium where it's going to stop and we're going to see a correction, we are headed toward a renter's market.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that, folks, is that you've got some folks that are looking for a home right now, and they're in a rental, and they could be in a house, but they can't find that house, so they stay as a renter.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have people moving into the area, about 1,800 move in a year, I think it is, and they're here looking because they have jobs in the area, and again, they can't find it, so they rent.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have is 96% occupancy. The occupancy of our apartments is 96%, which means they're full. Now, why 96, not 100? Because there's always turnover, and they're always prepping their properties for the next client that comes in. And with that occupancy level the way it is, they can price it at any category that they want. Any category. Any price level, because if somebody says no, then they'll just drop it, and then they'll secure somebody. You don't see this offer a month free or your dogs are free or.
Who was telling me that though? That the
Patriot
Cannery,
Square.
Yeah. That they were offering
Or Liberty
incentives,
Square.
which surprised
Cannery
me.
Square.
Yeah. I was looking at this one on Vine Street.
Uh-huh.
It must be the most expensive house on the street in the whole neighborhood.
Oh, it is. It is.
Built in 1917. It looks awesome.
It is. It's overpriced.
It has a Sub-Zero Wolf
It's
appliances.
overpriced.
Will they stay?
It's overpriced.
Yeah.
It's overpriced.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow, I don't know. Do you ever want the most expensive house
No.
in the neighborhood?
No, not at all.
No. Anyway,
Because your house is going to help other houses, but not yours.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but so what are we going to do for our first-time home buyers? I mean, that's the That's the thing. I mean, they're capable of buying a house. You still don't have to have 20% down, folks. You don't need that.
No.
You don't have. That's one of the choices. You could have a 0 down payment still.
If you can get your offer accepted that way.
If you can
yes,
get your offer
could.
accepted that way, that's
Mhm.
correct.
That's the thing.
Yep.
I know it's really hard from that perspective. The Home Buyers Roundtable that I've been part of forever is all about affordable housing, and that almost
Sure.
seems like a joke right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Housing's just not affordable,
Well-
right, for a lot of segments of the like
well,
for
are you
example,
talking about rentals and purchases?
both?
Well, so let's talk
Yeah.
about that for a minute. So the affordability will not happen with a bunch of bureaucrats sitting in a room because they have no clue how to build a house. You need to have the builders in there that have to define how to create a home that's in that affordable price area.
How to develop it
Right.
first, and all the red tape and
Right.
money that goes into just developing.
And what is it?
But-
65% of the median income
Oh,
for an area is considered affordable?
80%, I think.
80%?
Yeah.
80.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yep.
That's not bad. That's a lot.
For Dane County,
That's
pretty
for
healthy.
some Prairie, that's really healthy.
Yeah.
But it's my frustration, I hate that word, with the whole discussion about affordable housing is they're not looking at the construction process, they're not looking at the fees that are associated with it, and they're not creating a model that would allow them to build a property, make money on it, because there's not a builder out there going to make less, because they make about 10%. They do. They make about 10% per house net. Okay? And so...
Even now,
Even now?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was more.
Well, it could be, but...
Well, maybe not though, because they have to make adjustments to
Yeah.
the subs, prices for subs, materials,
Right.
all that stuff.
Right.
It's hard to make a profit
Sure.
maybe right now.
Right. And there's no way we're going to build our way out of this. There's no way. But if you're being told by a city or a municipality or something like that, you got to do this, and this at this rate, and here's your fees, your cost, and I know Bill Connors will say, you're not using the right language. I don't care. It's what cost to increases the price of the house.
Yeah.
We should have Billy on here. He'd be fun. We could sit and throw stuff at each other.
Interesting.
We've had him on the show before.
I think I might want to sit outside the glass.
I like the guy, to be honest with you. I like a guy
Little
that's...
blowhard.
So is he. I call him that too now. Well, Bill Connors, for you folks
It's a
that,
love-hate relationship.
that don't know, is our former city council president. He was my alder in District 2. And so he is very on top of things going on in our government.
Yes.
And he is almost right some of the time.
He's almost right.
Yeah, I
He
know.
definitely has an opinion.
He has a passion. And I love that
Yes.
passion about him. So,
Mhm.
but we just don't always agree, and
It's okay.
we share that.
As long as it's respectful disagreement, right? It's
exactly.
okay.
Yep.
How many things do we disagree with each other on? All of us.
Oh, it's okay.
It's
You and me?
okay.
Never.
No, all of us in general, from mask wearing to vaccines to whatever the heck is going on.
Right.
We disagree. Just respectfully disagree. That's
Right.
all I ask.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
don't call names.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was going to tell you that I have two properties right now in delayed status. So folks, on the multiple listing service as a real estate agent, if I'm not going to be able to show the house right away, if it's because we're taking pictures or somebody's getting the house ready, they're cleaning it up, they're painting, staging, whatever, you can't show the property. So I have, that status is called delayed.
What's the purpose of putting it in, but in delayed? Why
Well-
would you just not wait to do it all?
Oh man, I love that question. Well, I think it's a great strategy because it shows me as a real estate agent what's coming on the market. And so what I was about to tell you is I have two offers already, and neither property is being shown yet.
So it's really for realtors that are
yeah,
in
you
that
can't see
system.
it. If you're a consumer, you cannot see
This
it.
is not on Zillow.
It's not on Zillow.
Redfin
It's
or
not on
Trulia
Redfin.
or
Nope.
Realtor.com. It's
Negative.
not anywhere.
Nada.
You need a realtor.
Ain't happening.
To know
Yes.
what's going to be hitting the market.
Correct.
Okay.
And so I follow delayeds all the time. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
all over those the morning they pop in there. But I've got two, and they both have offers. Sight unseen.
Oh yeah, that's
Sight unseen.
happening a lot.
I know.
So do you want to I don't know if you want to get into that or not, but I know that's happening a lot too, sight
Yep.
unseen. So how because you have to look at it. That's part of your license, right?
I do.
Buyer needs to look at it.
I
so
do.
how do people do that?
And it will not allow me to see that house prior to it becoming active unless something occurs and the seller gives permission, and that permission is the offer to purchase. So if an offer to purchase is written, it's usually written with the contingency to see and approve within like 20, 48, 72 hours, something like that. That gives us permission, and as a representative, to go with them to do that process.
And you want a realtor who's actively looking for homes for you,
Yes.
even in delayed status, because, for example, maybe
Yes.
you've got a very motivated buyer. What
Yes.
buyer isn't motivated right now, I guess? And then you put in an offer, and the seller's like, ooh, that's a pretty good offer.
Mhm.
And if I take that,
Uh-huh.
then I don't have to worry about being gone from my house all the time and making sure it's clean all the time and reviewing all the offers and all the stress that
Right.
goes along with it.
Exactly.
Right, so it could be a win-win for you and the seller if you have an agent
Mhm.
that is actively looking for you.
And if you're buying right now, if you're a buyer out there and you're listening to me right now, let me tell you what the rules are for a real estate agent. So once there's a contract in place, I am not allowed to contact, if I am a buyer's agent, I'm not allowed to contact the listing agent without the approval of the listing, or the seller. I'm not allowed to contact the seller without the listing agent aware of it.
You have to go through the listing.
Got to go through the listing agent on it. But you don't.
And why would that be beneficial?
I know people, and so do you, because we had a mutual client. They went up to the door and knocked on the door and said, I want to buy your house and I'd like to see it. And and in this situation, the house was empty. It was vacant. So they walked all around the house, looked in the windows and all that. Now, you might get a ticket for trespassing. I don't know. I don't think so. But nothing stops you from actually walking up and talking to the seller.
And so the seller might say, okay, or the seller might say, here's my agent's number. You need to talk to my
Right.
agent about it.
And depending on how assertive you are, you may be able to convince them just to walk through the house.
Mhm.
You know, while you're there, hey, I understand. I know I should go through my agent and all that. But while I'm here, do you mind if we just walk through the house real quick?
Mhm.
I'll take my shoes off.
How many people do you think would say yes?
I think most of them would.
Really? Some stranger comes knocking on your door,
Yeah.
says, I want to buy. How do you know what their angle is?
I don't know.
I don't know if I would let somebody do that.
Yes, you would.
I don't know if I would.
You're a sweetheart.
I'm
You
very
would.
nice. I
You
know
are.
that. I'm so
I know.
nice. But
Yes.
that's also my children that are in there.
They're
I don't
not there.
want
They're at
weirdos.
school. Come
I
on.
shouldn't say weirdos. Maybe they're perfectly.
They're
I don't know.
They're
Who
at
knows,
school
though?
with the kids with the guns and knives. Don't worry about it. They're fine.
Well, and I've got a dog. So.
that dog is vicious.
No, she's a sweetheart. However, I think if somebody came at me,
No.
watch out.
No, she'd look at you and go, "You're on your own, babe."
She would not. She
So the reason I'm telling you this is there are strategies for buying a home, and depending on how committed you are to it, will help determine the strategy on it. And working with an agent to help guide you on it. Now, I did not tell my clients to go do that.
Oh, you didn't?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm
Not
glad to
exactly.
hear that, actually.
Not exactly.
Not exactly. Sounds like semantics.
I would not want to take a polygraph.
Ah!
But because you never know how those things are. They're faulty. I wouldn't want to
Don't
testify in front
lie,
of Congress.
Pinocchio.
Is my nose growing?
Wouldn't that be great if people's noses
Mhm.
actually did grow if you were lying?
You couldn't walk in here.
What? I couldn't walk in here? Oh my lord. That's so not true. That's not true. I'd have a short nose.
Mm.
You might have a long nose.
Size matters.
Stop it. That's inappropriate.
So our first time home buyers have to be creative. We've got to work with an agent and buy that house before it hits open market.
Are there any crazy things you've seen people try just because, like, nothing else seems to be working, so some out-of-the-box,
Sure.
unusual stuff.
Yeah. That the buyer pays seller's closing cost.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Get that buyer pays seller's closing costs. What are the seller's closing costs? Well, they've got the title transfer. They have the commission.
Oh, that could be a lot.
Right, it could be. It could be.
Or they could pay closing costs,
Right.
like title stuff, transfer tax. That's
Part of the
stuff.
closing cost is the commission. But you could
You have
also
to be careful
define
how you word it.
Right.
Again, why you need
Exactly.
a professional.
You could say I'll pay the buyer agent closing costs. I mean, if you're gonna go 100,000 over asking, do it in a way that benefits you, because I want to say that those may be deductible.
And you need to ask your tax preparer.
Yes, because I'm not a tax preparer.
Nope,
either.
not an attorney, not a tax preparer. Yeah, it's interesting because I remember, I don't know how many years ago now, how long has it been this nutty? At least 2, if not 3.
Oh God, come on in 3 years.
Seller's market's been going
I know.
on longer than that though.
Yeah.
But it used to be possible that a buyer could come in and say, hey, I need help with my closing costs. So hey seller, if I agree to offer you a little bit more than what you're looking for, so no skin off your back,
Oh, I know
would you give me a credit for my closing costs?
Yeah.
And escrow?
That's not happening today.
No.
Uh-uh.
No, and other than, I really don't know why, in the sense that it's really literally no skin off the seller's back. They're going to net the same amount of money because the buyer's paying more. So in a sense, the buyer's financing in their closing costs. They're paying a little bit more, right?
Right.
So why is a seller saying no to that? If they're netting the same amount of money and the buyer is not any riskier than anybody else with regard to financing,
Right.
why not?
Because they're not being creative. They're not being open-minded. Don't you think? So it's an option. I mean,
Yeah.
this is how creative that you have to be. You've got to get outside of that box.
You have to communicate a lot.
Oh,
too.
please, and communicate. I mean, I've had conversations by phone finally with several agents recently, and we haven't talked. I'm like, oh my gosh. Others are texting, which drives me nuts. And but call me. Karen Gower and I are working on a transaction together.
Oh.
And Karen called and we talked, and she goes, "What do your sellers need?" I loved it. I smiled ear to ear.
Karen is one of the really good ones.
Yes.
She works really hard for
Yep.
her clients.
Yep, and she's up in Beaver Dam.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
She does a really good job. So, I mean, if you're a buyer deciding what realtor you're going to work with, seller, it doesn't matter. Either way, you have questions you should be asking your agent if you're interviewing people for
Uh-huh.
sure. Like, how do you present offers? What is your process for presenting offers? And if your agent says, I email it over and I wait, wrong. Don't do that. Right?
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
That's too easy.
Thank
it's
you.
lazy, and some listing agents might go, oh, okay, not impressed.
Yeah, I've missed offers.
I want to work with an agent that I know is on top of stuff,
Yep.
and they're going to make things happen, and those are the ones that pick up the phone and call.
So is this crazy? But this is just me. So someone will say, "Well, I've sent you an offer." Okay, cool. Tell me about the offer. Well, I just sent it to you.
Read it.
Well, can't you just
Look at
tell?
your email.
I'm not going to get to it for a while. Could you maybe just share with me some of the key points?
Let's build some rapport.
Right, exactly. But they're like, I just emailed it to you.
Don't have an attitude.
Oh, I
build a relationship.
sent it to you. Oh, I emailed it.
I know.
They at least didn't text it or Snapchat it or something.
You know what? Maybe there's always good things that come out of stressful, negative situations.
Right.
So maybe one good thing that'll come out of this is more communication.
Right.
Better relationships,
I
more
hope so.
trust.
Or relationships. I
That's
know.
a good thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And you get an agent that understands that, you as a buyer or a seller are going to benefit huge. Now it
Right.
sounds like I'm promoting real estate agents and using one. Oh yes, I am. Because right now you need
You need a professional.
and you need a good one.
Yeah.
A good one. And a good one doesn't mean that they've sold 300 houses this year.
No.
That's a mill. They're just turning houses.
Not a puppy mill.
Not to be confused with your puppy mill. I
house
know.
mill.
Or a kitty mill.
Either one.
I got kitties.
A llama and alpaca mill. I
Oh.
don't want any of it.
They spit.
I know. I know. I was on a field trip years ago with one of my guys, and I didn't get me, thank goodness, but I saw one spit and landed in someone's face.
Big loogie.
Mm,
Huh.
funny.
So, Prairie, right now we are trending a little bit lower than we did last March. Last March we were at 54 homes listed. If we hit right now, we're going to be like 46. But things will pick up a little bit on this. Last March, housing was at $356,000, and don't forget that in February, end of February, the average price sold was $421. That's just Sun Prairie. But if we look year to date, we're still down in the number of houses for sale. We're still down in the number of houses sold by 12%. And year to date, we're at 392. So if you bought a house last March, you could turn around and sell it and make some money on it, I reckon.
I reckon.
Mm-hmm. I like the number where I checked for February, compared February of 2012 to February of 2022. In 2012, the average price was $193,000. Yeah, I know. 10 years later, $421,000.
Insane.
Hey, pricing right now is running about 12% year to date. Same period year to date, up 12%. So, yeah.
It's a good investment.
It is. It is. My thing is, I don't like these homes that are over $100,000 or $50,000 over asking, because it tells me that the house wasn't priced correctly. Now, the argument on that, the counterpoint is, well, we sold it at $100,000 higher than asking. Yeah, well, if I listed it for $1, I would have sold it for $400,000 over asking.
All right, then you've talked about that before.
Yeah, that just drives me crazy. I have to get on my soapbox once in a while.
If you're a buyer, though, don't also think, like we talked about that some buyers think they have to have 20% down, which is a myth.
Right.
Don't also think that on every single property that's out there, you're going to have to overpay by $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. That is not the case.
No, it's not.
It happens, but it's not normal.
Sure.
You usually show numbers about like the percent that went over asking and by how much over asking it went. And I'm usually surprised at how low that number is.
I know, right?
Yeah. So don't think that you're going to have to overpay.
Sure.
That's just more drama and more myths being perpetuated. Just stop. Ask questions.
And how do you do that? You hire the realtor that knows the statistics, that has done their homework. And you can use the information we give you right here and go out and shop. If you don't like them, come back to me. Come back to me. Because I'll tell you exactly. I've done the homework. I know what's there. And I'm here to help you with it.
I am always going to say this, and I've had people say to me, I find it odd that you encourage people to shop around. There's benefit in that, though, because you're going to learn more. Different agents, different lenders, different whatever, present things in different ways. So you are going to become a more educated buyer, seller, whatever you're doing, just by asking more people questions. You'll also find out the professionals will rise to the top, and you'll know what the differences are. There really are differences in agents that you work with and in lenders you work with.
Exactly.
Ask questions.
Exactly. I mean, it's funny because last week Mary Losted and the three of us were talking about it. We have a mutual client where we said a 385 number, and he's like, no, let's do 375. And Mary and I are like, what? Well, we'll see. I bet it sells for 385.
Okay.
And I'll do this.
All the numbers.
And I'll go, na 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 na. You know. I know. Hey, something I want to talk about before we get off the air is, don't forget this Friday at the West Side, or I can't remember what it is now. Oh my gosh. Oh, they're going to be downtown at City Hall at the in the chamber seats. And your school board candidates will be down there. If you haven't heard their discussion, get down there and listen, or watch it on KSUN. Yep, or at KSUN. Watch it live on that. I believe it's live. Somebody will come running in here in a second. If it's not live, it's going to be recorded. You've got a great group of people that are running for school board. You got 5 of them, and I want you to listen to what they're said, because each one of them has a unique view on what the school board should look like, how it should interact, and all that. And I think it's one of the best mixtures of school board candidates that I've ever seen. And then also you've got an aldermatic district in District 4 with Russ Weed and David Virgil, and hear those guys, talk to them, listen to them. If you're in District 4, listen to what they're saying, and make your decision. It's not about party. It's not about being conservative. It's not about being liberal and all that. It's what they're saying. Listen to their words. There are a lot of these, I don't know what I want to call them out on Facebook, Sun Prairie Political, Local, and all that come out. And all of a sudden they're talking about...
Karen Department?
Yeah, it's a Karen Department. That's what it should be called. Sun Prairie Local Politics Karen Department. Where they're all of a sudden there's a candidate that's voicing their opinion, and because they're either conservative or liberal, they shouldn't be heard. And that's just so wrong. That's the problem with our government today. You get these people that are pointing fingers, and because you're labeled a certain way, you shouldn't be voted for. And we need to stop that.
We need open minds.
Open minds. Make us just a wonderful community that everybody wants to come and live at. So, hey, Sun Prairie, thanks for listening, and catch me on Monday for Good Morning Sun Prairie. The award-winning show just got our award notification. Got another one.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll talk about that on Monday. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for your input. Need help? Get a hold of Laura. Get a hold of me. Be glad to answer any of your questions and help you any way we can. But until next time, we'll see you right back here on the radio on Wednesday. Bye, Sun Prairie.
Bye, Sun Prairie. That went fast.
I did go fast, didn't it? I thought the same thing. I was looking at it going, wow, that's a fast show.
Mm-hmm.
I am.